Hi, Dawn the Stitching Coach, back with the third part of my video series featuring the Tiki Knits memory blanket pattern. Before we get started, remember to like, share, and subscribe for reminders when new videos are posted. In this episode, we'll be making square number 3 in the pattern. If you haven't watched the first 2 parts of the series, you'll need to stop here and watch them because they're built on sides of each square. So this is square 1. This is square 2. So you'll need square 1 to do square 3 because they're knit from the edges of the other squares, like these 2. So if you're caught up, let's get started. For square number 3, you'll be picking up stitches on the left side of square 1. Remember, you'll need US number 6 needles, a marker that opens like a safety pin, a second marker, doesn't matter which kind, and scraps of yarn. In this case, I'm going to use this blue scrap that looks nice with this one. And then we're going to pick up and knit the left, so right side facing. Remember, if you've watched the other videos, you should have marked your wrong sides because you're going to have this dash on the wrong side. No dash, 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 no dash. I'm going to pick up, grab my new yarn, and I'm going to start knitting right away. You're going to be picking up and knitting 20 stitches along the edge, placing your marker, and then casting on 20 stitches with your new yarn. So just like you would knit normal, I've picked up a stitch, and remember, we're picking up these pearl bump looking stitches, not the stitches that look like a little ladder in between. So knitting just like normal. I'm going to leave about a 6-inch tail for weaving my ends later. So here is stitch number 1. Pick up. Stitch number 2. Remember, we're going to knit with our skein of yarn, not with our tail, because that would be a very, very short knitting project. I'll pick up 2 more, and then you guys can pause here and finish picking up and knitting your 20 stitches on your square. So there's 3. And here is stitch number 4. Make sure that you're picking up the whole loop and not piercing or splitting your yarn. Okay? I'll see you back here when we get closer to 20 stitches. And here's 18, 19, and last one makes 20. Make sure you're catching just one loop. Now in the pattern, it says place your marker. So we're going to put our marker on there. Now we're going to cast on. You can cast on any way you like. I'm going to do a simple backwards loop cast on. We're going to cast on 20 additional stitches for a total of 40 stitches, with this marker being right in the middle. We'll add our other marker a little bit later after we have a couple rows done. For those of you following the pattern, she also mentions the cable cast on. So I've taken my stitches off, and I'll show you what a cable cast on looks like. We're going to have to turn our work so that the wrong side is facing us. And in the pattern, she says she starts with a backwards loop. So we're going to do our backwards loop cast on for the first stitch. You're going to enter in between the 2 stitches. So we have the stitch that we picked up and knit from square number 1. We have our marker, and then we have our first backwards loop cast on stitch. So now I'm going to put the needle between the marker and that new stitch. I'm going to knit as if I'm knitting a normal stitch. I'm going to pull it around. I'm going to elongate that loop, insert my needle, and then tighten it up. Now I have 2 stitches. I'll show you again. going in between those two stitches, wrap your yarn around, pull it through those two stitches, elongate that loop so that you can put that left hand needle into that loop and then tighten up. Not too tight, not too loose, just right. Okay, let's do one more and then I'll see you back here when we have 20 stitches. And then here is 18. 19. And last one, this should be our 20, number 20 cast on, plus our picked up and knit cast on for a total of 40 stitches. A cable cast on is nice because it has a much firmer cast on than just a backwards loop cast on. So now we're going to knit our first row. Bring it around. Oops, nope, leave it on the wrong side. And this is a garter stitch, so we're going to be knitting both sides of our work. So once you knit, you're going to be doing this just like square one. So a reminder, in square one, on the wrong side, you're going to knit as normal. So this is the wrong side, so we're just going to knit. On the right side is where we're going to be doing our decreases, which makes our bias in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and knit across my 20 stitches, and I'll see you back here on the right side row. Now we're on our right side row. I'm at 2 stitches before my marker. Just as in square one, we're going to be knitting 2 together, slipping the marker, and then we're going to be doing a SSK, or slip, slip, knit, right on either side of the marker. We're going to finish knitting across that row, and we're going to do that until we get back to this point and we only have 1 stitch left. So again, just like in square one, we're going to knit 2 together. So just like you're knitting 1 stitch, but we're going to go through both stitches. So 2 stitches at a time. Slip the marker. And then we're going to slip the first stitch, slip the second stitch, and then we're going to take the left hand needle in the front of those 2 stitches and then knit those together. Now we'll knit to the end. And when we get to the wrong side row, we'll add our stitch marker so that we know our right side from our wrong side. And remember, every wrong side row is knit plain. Every right side row has a decrease. Okay, so if you've done this right, you should have matching bias strips with a left-leaning slant. On the back, you'll have your dashes. On the front, no dashes. And after you've gotten a few rows in, you should have moved your marker up a little bit farther just to mark the back of your fabric just in case. When you see this, you're going to be knitting a plain row. When you don't see the marker, you're going to be decreasing. So we're going to finish the rest of this just like in square one, and I'll show you how that's going to go again, just so you don't have to go back and forth between the other videos. Okay, see you in a few. And now we're getting down to the end of our square. Just as in square one, we're going to get down to 2 stitches. So once I do this last decrease, knit 2 together, slip my marker, slip as if to knit, slip as if to knit, and then knit into the front of those 2 stitches. I now have only 2 stitches left. So I'm going to knit the back just as I have been. This time I'll take my marker off. I'm going to knit that stitch, remove my marker, knit this last stitch. On the next side, we're going to cast off or bind off. That's another way of saying it. depending on where you're from. So now I'm going to knit this stitch. So I'm going to knit one. I'm going to knit the second stitch, and I'm going to pull that back stitch over the front stitch. Make sure that these stitches are not too tight. If you're a tight knitter, you might want to go up a needle size, but for this, it shouldn't be that big of a problem. And then that's it. Now I'm going to pull that and make a pretty long loop. Grab my scissors, cut that off, pull that out, and now I am done with square number 3. In the next video, we're going to be doing square number 4. Once you have done squares 1, 2, 3, and 4, this will give you the foundation to know how to pick up and knit from the top, cast on to the right, pick up and knit from the left, cast on to the left, or picking up and knitting both the left hand and the top of another square. These will build on top of each other just as you see in the pattern. Each one builds off the other until you have an entire blanket. Okay, folks, I hope this was a great video for you and that you learned something and you are enjoying this series. We've got one more left. Make sure you comment in below and let me know if you have any particular knitting things that you would like me to cover after this video series is over. And I'll see you next time. Bye.